Hi, I'm going to make a drawing using colored pencils. I have this cheap package, so maybe I'll buy a larger package with more quality, more quality, I don't know, but a little more expensive. I don't think. I don't know what I paid for this actually. I found it really strange that the wood is dark. And I do not often use colored pencils, but I use this Bruinzeel package. I think it's a Dutch brand. Oh, €280. And this paper, Clairefontaine Dessin à Grain. Don't know if I pronounce it really well, but... And here is the Vermeer that I have printed. So this is what I'm going to draw. And first I want to take a relatively dark color. What shall I choose? Maybe I just choose brown. I want to try to get a relatively natural coloring with these pencils. So let's just try this. First I make a sort of sketch of her face. It's a Vermeer. It hangs in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. Vermeer is one of my favorite painters. My favorite painter actually. And I do not use color pencil very often, and I see these videos on YouTube in which color pencils can be used for very realistic drawings, and I usually have more minimalistic approach, but I want to try if I can make a more realistic looking drawing using colored pencils with light and dark and colors that are quite saturated. I'm a bit struggling now at the position of the nose. I'm going to zoom in a little bit. And here her mouth. And at high school I made the kind of drawings that you see on YouTube nowadays, but not... I don't know if I was... I don't think they were as good as what you see on YouTube, but... That was long ago. And I just want to try this. So usually I avoid brown, because that's almost too natural. I like to build it up from green and red or blue and so on, but now I want to try this. Sometimes you want to avoid the most obvious things. But this is interesting, I think. And I focus mainly on her face. This is a bit of an experiment for myself, to be honest. And well, I try to make a drawing now in tonal values that is fairly complete. So before I apply other colors, and I try to get this drawing more accurate now. But I want to watch out that I do not apply this pencil so thick that I cannot draw over it with other pencils. I have to check the effect of that. But I have the feeling that if you draw too thick with colored pencils, that it's difficult to apply other colors on top of that. So I want the grain of the paper still be visible through the pencil. A little bit of a clothing. And now I have this. I also draw the background here a little bit. Adding some more pressure to make it a little darker here. And there is this weird form here, and I'm not sure shall I draw that or not. I tend to avoid that now, but I'll see later. And again, I haven't done much work with color pencils recently, and Just want to try a bit with this. And this drawing is getting relatively complete now for this first layer. Or this can serve as sort of base layer. You know, you can see her face now quite clearly. Everything is positioned. I can add some accentuations. I have the tendency not to use any real lines. It's just adding value, and for some reason the graphite of this pencil, you know, you can see the grain of the paper clearly. I like that effect. It gives a bit of a painterly effect, and so when I draw on smooth paper, I would perhaps, for example with ballpoint, I would give hatchings more prominence. But now with this grained paper, I have the tendency to just use tonal values and not really use visible hatchings, because I like the effect of this paper actually. I also like grained photographs, for example. So that's a sort of preference that someone can have. Someone else would perhaps like to draw on very smooth paper. I also like that, by the way, in other contexts with other techniques, but in this case I really like using this grained paper and working with tonal values. So now I'm approaching a point that I think, well, I want to use other colors as well. Can I make this more like what you see on the photo, or on the reproduction of the painting, the photo of the painting? So I have a limited amount of colors. I don't have a big box of, let's say, skin colors which you can use. I have the tendency to make this a bit larger for the composition, but yeah, let's just focus on the colors, and I think I use red, blue, this pink, and what other colors? I think I use green as well. Purple, and this blue I might use for her clothing. Here, a little bit of black, but I tend to avoid black, but who knows. So I have the feeling that I avoid these four, but I can always take them if I want to. But let's just use red now for her cheeks a little bit. So I'm going to add some red. And see if it's a little more natural already. Her lips. And oops, going to add a little bit of red here. But I have this pink also, which I'm going to use, so but just a hint of reddish color might help as well. A And now I would like to use this pink. Why not? It doesn't do much actually. It doesn't have much effect. A little bit. So this pink is not really useful actually. Now I want to use this green for the shadows. If I look at the photograph of the painting, there seems to be some sort of greenish tint in the shadows, so I'm going to try to make the shadows a bit darker. And now I feel that I should use that brown again. And perhaps this orange. Try to make all kinds of areas darker now. Oops, I need black. I try to avoid black, but I need black here in the eye. Try to use that subtle as possible. And the darkest areas I give an accentuation with black. So I'm experimenting for myself because I don't use this technique very often. And now I want to use green again. The combination of brown and green actually gives a nice tint, a nice color. And you could say I have a very limited amount of colors. I mean, you can buy a lot of skin colored pencils, and maybe I'll do that in the future, but I just want to try to use this limited set to see if I can get close to this image. And now I want to use green to make this area darker, and I will add brown later on as well. And now I add brown, and I miss definition in this area especially, so maybe I use a little bit of black to have some accentuation here. Her neck, and here again. And now I'm going to use this brown again. Maybe I need to add a little bit of blue for her jacket. This blue is quite close to what's in the painting actually, so that's nice. I must say I actually like these pencils, and so you don't have to spend a lot of money. I need to sharpen this. Oops. I'm terrible in sharpening these things. For some reason, I never get it. I never get that right. Oh. I'm not sure if it's useful anymore. I need to get a decent sharpener, such an electric one, I think, if I proceed with these techniques, because sharpening these by hand, for some reason, all the pencils always break if I try to sharpen them with this thing. So cannot really use this anymore. But I just go on with other pencils. Let's add a little bit of blue. Maybe see what this does. This adds a little darkness as well to the shadow areas. So this blends in with the rest. So I try to create a sort of mixture of those colors on the paper, so you don't really see very bright blue, but I mix green and blue and brown to a sort of shadow skin color in this case. And sometimes you see a little bit of blue because, especially for example here, there is some grayish, there's a grayish area which can be drawn a little bit by adding a bit of blue here. Trying to refine the form of her nose a bit. And working in the background a little bit. Making the background a little bit darker so the forms get more defined of her face by contrast. Trying to define this better, but I should use that brown color. But let's see if it's useful still. Yeah, I can draw a little bit with it to blow away the pieces of graphite which are superfluous, and because this is really terrible. If you see what happens here, I don't think I get it sharp. I try to get it sharp, but I try to sharpen this and with this, but well, it pulverized or something, and I don't know what exactly went wrong, but I need to get a good sharpener, or perhaps also better pencil. I'm not sure. I like these pencils in itself, so maybe it's just my way of sharpening them, but I did nothing strange or something. I just couldn't get it sharpened properly. And some reddish tones. This could use some extra definition. Still trying to get this brown working for me, but terrible. And let's try orange also. A little bit of light green. In some areas between light and dark, I find this light green interesting. A little bit of red. And I'm looking at the shadow area. Should I make it really darker, or should I leave it as it is? I think it needs some more darker tones. So I'm going to try to use red and blue to combine these on the paper to make this area darker in the shadow. So I mean I have to deal with a limited amount of colors, and the one color that was interesting, the brown, isn't usable anymore at this moment. So let's just try the combination of reds and blue. They should make each other darker. So when you have blue and when you have red and blue, let's take a look at this. This is red, and now you see the combination is darker than the separate colors. So I'm just using these to get darker shadows. Now red again. I just go back and forth between those two. And now I try to add some more detail using this back and forth technique. So first I had blue, now I add some red. I'm adding a little bit of orange because the skin color didn't have much effect. I can still try it, but this doesn't do much. So I'm approaching a stage that I think, well, it is a nice drawing, and now I added some accentuations here, and maybe that's the next step. So as I'm making this drawing, I'm actually discovering for myself how I can use this technique. And what I'm doing now, at this up until now, I did very general had a general appliance of color, and I let the grain do the work, so to speak. But I'm going to focus a little bit more now. And as you can see here, I added little lines. So little hatchings. And that's to accentuate certain areas a little bit more forcefully. So you could add certain accentuations and be careful not to disturb the overall appearance of the grain, and because otherwise you get two different approaches in one drawing, which perhaps might not mix very well. But to add an accentuation, I need to get this foam a little better. But to add an accentuation, you can subtly add a very small but strong hatching, which blends in with the overall appearance of the drawing, as I'm doing now. Oops, I shouldn't let those pencils fall. They might break. And now I'm adding some more detail here in her chin. So I actually hold this pencil now a little more vertical than I did first. So when you are using this technique, it's good to experiment a little bit with how you hold the pencil and what the effect is of applying color. How much color you see then on the paper. Maybe I've gone a bit overboard with this blue and red technique here, and maybe it's become a little bit too dark. Carefully hatching here now. This needs a little bit of shade, but not too much. And I want to add some green in the shadow. I think this is a bit too dull of a color now because of the combination of red and blue. So a little bit of green might liven it up a little bit. And I can use it to enhance a certain structure or certain, let's say, the form of the tonal values in her face to make it a bit more accurate. But I actually like using a limited amount of pencils. These are just cheap pencils, so you don't have to spend lots of money to get all kinds of skin colors. These are quite nice, I must say. And I want to adjust still this area. I didn't draw that strange part of the hairdress or whatever it was. Something that I think she had some sort of stuff in her hair. But I thought, well, maybe it's better to not do that in this case. Although Vermeer must have had his reasons to paint it. I'm wondering if adding a little bit of orange makes this livelier as well. I think that's better. I'm struggling a bit with this area. I thought it was too dark or too much removed from actual skin color, and changing the subject a little bit because I leave out this area makes it a little bit difficult in that respect as well. But I actually like this technique, so I think I will do more of these. And here I went a little bit overboard, a little bit too much orange. And this is for me a sign to stop. That I say, well, I should be careful. Because it's a nice drawing now. And as you might see when you look at these videos, sometimes at the 13th minute the drawing is much better than at the 20th minute. This is... I can add some nice accentuations here and there. Clothing. But I think I want to add a little more. Oh wait, I don't have this. If I could have used, I'm going to try it. I'm going to try to it just pulverizes. Anyway, get this off here. So I really like these pencils, but I cannot properly sharpen them. Let's try to draw with this. You can see what happens. I wanted to have a little bit of extra brown here. And now I'm adding a little green. Not sure if I should have done that. Let's add a little bit of red. But I wanted to add a little more atmosphere here, as if she is breathing. Not sure if it makes a better drawing, by the way. Perhaps it looked better if I didn't do that, but too late. Well, then I should take the consequence and go on with this. Add some more atmosphere. And I use red instead of that brown. Which works as well. And I add a little bit of blue. And I'm going to finish this drawing now. This was a little experiment. I hope you liked it, and I will do more of these, I think. Thank you for watching.